Hey guys, Mark and I wanted to make this quick video on how to set up the balloon pump, and we want to go through this as practically as possible, as if you were the one actually in here with the patient. So usually when they're calling for a balloon pump, it's typically in the scenario of a STEMI. So you're already going to be up here, the patient's already going to be draped, they're already going to be working on the patient. So what you want to do before they're even calling for it is taking a look at the machine to make sure you have everything you need. First, you want to check that you have your setup for your pressure tubing, and it is simply 1,000 cc normal saline, 1,000 pressure bag, and your pressure tubing itself. This is exactly like an A-line. The only difference is that it doesn't have a vamp. You got two cables. The green one is your ECG, and then the red is your pressure. This one is an adapter, and it goes to your gray cable here. Looks pretty similar to the pressure cable that we use up in the ICU. This is usually sitting on the top of the machine. These are typically already connected. If they're not, go ahead and put these together. Let's twist down. These connections are usually already in place. If they're not, simply green to green, red to red. Then you want to come over to this side of the machine. You want to check your helium gauge, make sure it's in the green. Come down to this little pocket here and make sure you have your ECG electrodes. The balloon pump is usually pushed off against the wall, plugged in. Make sure it's plugged in. When they call for it, generally the cath lab tech will go and get the actual balloon itself while we're setting up the machine. So you're going to unplug it, grab it from the wall, wheel it up to the table, and you want to make sure this side of the machine is facing the table, because that's where all your connections are going to be made. As soon as you get it over here, the first thing you want to do is turn it on. You're going to open the console here, and the power button is this little green guy right there. You want to be kind of quick with the setup, but they do have to actually insert the balloon, so you do have some time. First thing you want to do, set up your pressure bag. Like I said, it's exactly like an A-line. And then you want to get the ECG leads on. Now, as I said, they're already working on the patient. The patient's draped. If it's a scenario in which it's more critical and maybe they're being intubated or compressions are going on, what have you, and you can't get the ECG leads on right away, that's okay. And we'll talk more about that when we touch on the triggers. Once you have this set up, you're going to go ahead and hook up your pressure line to your transducer. And then we're going to open it up, just like an A-line. And then we're going to hit 0 on the screen, hold for 2 seconds. Once we're 0, put this back. And then while we're waiting, we're going to check our settings. You're going to come down here to open menus. Make sure you're on auto, frequency 1 to 1. And we're going to have to turn our augmentation up to max. Whenever you turn the machine on, it always starts out at the lowest setting, so we have to turn that up. So now we're ready, and we're just waiting for the balloon. Once they get it in, they're going to toss you 3 lines. You're going to have your helium line, your fiber optic cable, and the pressure tubing. This little extender piece comes in their setup. The sequence in which they toss you these lines may be different. When they toss you this one, you're going to simply make your connection to your pressure line. And then when they tell you to flush, you're going to flush. You're going to pull on your pigtail and you're going to flush this thing continuously until they tell you to stop. Because they're going to want to make their connection up here while it's being flushed. They're going to toss you the helium. That's going to come in here, slip through this little hole, and wedge into this outlet. There's no locking mechanism with this, it just simply wedges in there. So that's something to be aware of. And then they're going to give you the fiber optic. This little door opens, arrow to arrow, and it fits into here. Sometimes it takes a little bit of finessing. Once all that's in, you're ready to go. You're just waiting for the doc to tell you to pump. It's very important that you don't start this thing until they say so. Once they say start, you hit start. It may take 20 seconds or so to calibrate and fill the balloon, and then you'll be pumping. So just to touch on triggers for a moment. Earlier I had said that if you can't get the ECG leads on right away, it's not absolutely crucial. And that is because when you're in auto mode, it is going to select the most optimal trigger you have available. So if you have the fiber optic cable plugged in, then it's going to trigger off that fiber optic cable. But if you look at the list here, ECG is at the top of the list, and that is because it is actually the most optimal trigger. So as soon as you can get the ECG leads on, get them on the patient, and then with it being in auto, it's going to automatically switch itself to the ECG trigger.